What's up everyone, Art from Patience Metal Fab, and you're coming on a little journey with me in my truck over to Brian's house. Now he's the owner of that Group B rally car we've had for a few months, and he just gave me the call that a big parts order from overseas has come in. So I'm really excited to check out what's in there. We're gonna do a bit of an unboxing and then take inventory of what we've got, maybe show off some of the cool and rare items, and also while we're there, take a look at his other cars in the collection, because that R5 is not the only cool thing that he has. And once we're done with that, we're gonna book it back to PMF, where the guys are working on the car right now. It's fresh from epoxy, and so it's all clean, and we can start the assembly process. A lot of exciting stuff to come, so make sure to stick around for this episode. You saw me just doing a quick walkthrough on the shop. There's obviously a lot of cool cars here, and I've got Brian hanging out. You guys have seen him in the original video for the Group B car, and I gotta say, your spot is amazing. And I think myself and the audience want to see these builds a little bit individually, and then I do see a Turbo 2 right there. That's probably gonna be a good one to end the tour on and start unboxing some of those items that we got from France, presumably?
Yeah, from 3S.
3S?
Yeah.
Cool. So, okay, first thing I see is the Rally Fighter. I think we're pretty familiar with that. You guys have probably seen it on our social pages. Awesome car, one of your favorites, I assume?
It is. Yeah, this is a very special car to me. It's one of those cars that I heard about being built, and I tracked it at the time, and I just couldn't afford one. And one came up, and they never kind of saw the fan base that caused them to go way up in price, so I was able to access one, and I love it. It handles amazing. It's got an LS3 in there, and I don't think anybody can not love the sound of that LS3. It's just a great car. It's a ton of fun.
And then up here, compared to this, a little bit more of a standard car, M3?
Yeah,
okay.
So that's a 2004 M3. It's got a little bit under 7,000 miles on it.
That's a brand new car.
Yeah, I got it from an older gentleman in Florida who really babied it. It had 3 sets of floor mats on it.
Wow.
And he, it was just really well cared for. That car, so I was a huge fan of the E36. And years ago, I turbocharged an E36. And I had a ton of fun with it up until I kept increasing the boost and I blew the engine.
That happens.
But I've always loved BMWs of this era, the E46, the E36. So this is just, I love driving it.
A couple cars over here, obviously a GT4 RS up there, an incredible car, and I'd love to hear about that. But why don't we start with this thing? It's an Alfa Romeo, but I'm sure a lot of people seeing the video don't know exactly what model. So yeah. Give us a breakdown.
So that's an Alfa Romeo SZ. Their design department came up with this design, and they went to Zagato, a coach builder and designer, to build it, oddly enough. So that's Alfa Romeo's design, and they sent it to Zagato to be built rather than the other way around. They used this was one of the first cars ever to be designed on a computer, and they used a material called Modar in its construction. And Modar it's like just standard fiberglass production, but instead of using resin, it uses a thermoplastic. And it's incredibly heavy. All through the 80s and maybe a little bit into the early 90s, we talk about acceleration right now, 0 to 60. Back then, it was top speed. And so this was meant to do 155 miles an hour comfortably. And I gotta say, I drive this on the highway, and it is completely comfortable, completely rock solid. It's an incredible driving experience. And if you look at the interior, if you can see in there at all, To me, that looks like what the 80s thought the future was going to look like. Very cockpit-like, very Italian, and
Very hate it or love it design.
yeah, they called it, and I'm gonna really mispronounce this because I obviously don't know Italian, but they called it like Il Monstro, the monster. When you look at a car like this, you have to realize that at that time, this was groundbreaking. This was shockingly futuristic.
Right.
And today it looks a little campy, a little kitschy.
Call it the monster because it kind of maybe looks like a monster. The car above it is a track monster, I would say.
There's a lot of people that would take this car, take it out to the track, and really be able to extract all of its potential. That's not me. I enjoy driving cars. I get in this car, I don't care if it's going to beat a GT3. Mm-hmm. It is the most entertaining sound.
I bet.
And it's not painfully loud, it's not oppressively loud, it's perfectly loud. Mm-hmm. It reminds me a little bit, I used to have a C63 AMG, and the sound of that engine was undeniably beautiful. Mm-hmm. And this, I haven't had that experience since then, before owning this. It's amazing, it's a ton of fun. It's comfortable, it's great. But that doesn't have the emotional pull. Like there's something about the Renault Turbo 2, the Lancia Delta Integrale, and even the Alfa Romeo and the BMW, there's a quality that each one of these cars have that can't be described in the numbers on a page, can't be described with what their lateral acceleration is, what their 0 to 60 time is, what their braking distance is. There's something else entirely. And with these older cars like these, they have distinct personalities. That Lancia is kind of an outlier. It's like somewhere the Italians were channeling their inner German, and they created this. And I think it's a heavily built, it's just a beauty. It
really is.
It almost looks Teutonic in its harshness, like its slab-sidedness and its angularity.
And I think you kind of hit it on the other Alfa Romeo, that they were going for a futuristic look, and at the time when this rolled up, this probably turned some heads and blew some minds.
Yeah, seeing these, somebody would look at that and these fender bulges. And this did come from the Lancia Delta, which was an economy car. Mm-hmm. So they put these fenders on it, they widened the track on it, and it's just incredibly entertaining.
And that's a repeated formula that we see a lot with European cars. They take the basic economy car that sells hundreds in a week, and then they transform it into the race car version that might sell only a few hundred a year.
Yeah.
But they utilize everything that they already have and then just soup it up, which is exactly what the Turbo 2 is.
It's such a great example of that. And where they had a budget, they had a time constraint, and they had to get racing. This was the first mid-engine hatch.
Yeah.
Period. And that's a bit of history. You've got the engine right behind you. And the handling on it is amazing. It seems like you can't break it loose. I'm sure you can, but it's very confidence inspiring. I've got this car here, which is the Turbo 2. It's a 1983 Turbo 2, and it was really early in the production. So this actually has the fuel system of the Turbo 1 in it. And I was talking to somebody who's incredibly knowledgeable and has really enabled me to own these cars, which is, I've got his dad's sticker on here. So John Price, who raced Group B, raced a Maxi, his son, Steve, he's in Wales, and he has a shop out there, and he has helped me really do everything that I've done to this car. So, and through him, I learned that this was one of the first Turbo 2s built. Yeah, and there's no radio in here. I've never even tried using the HVAC. It is just, all you want to do is drive it. The more I started tearing into it, the more I realized I'm going all the way. Mm-hmm. And when I decided I'm going to go all the way and it's going to come down to its bare metal without glass, I thought, well, it's only an incremental amount of money. Mm-hmm. This is what I thought. I was like, well, it's not going to be a lot more money to just go all the way and to get it caged and then to race it in some of the classic racing events. I want to feel what the Turbo 2 in its most developed race state, what that was like. The biggest decision, and I'm still kind of in the middle of it, is, I can get 350 horsepower, mechanical fuel injection, the old style engine. It's pretty darn tempting to do an engine swap. But I don't know. I have a lot more learning to do on that. They have the Clio engine that has been swapped into one.
I've been telling you for weeks, you've got a 2J hanging out at our shop. I think everyone wants to see a built 2J GTE in that little R5. But no, in all seriousness, the engine for that car is right over there. I want to give you an up-close shot of that. And then also I want to start unboxing some of these parts. I'm really excited to see what's in those boxes. You've been waiting, months for those, essentially?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to set up the camera. We're going to do a little time lapse, get all the stuff out. And then I want Brian to be able to point out some of the really special things. And it's actually going to be easier said than done because pretty much everything is special with that build. So let's get to it and see what we can find. Well, we got everything unboxed. It looks like a lot of big items. I'm seeing fuel tanks, some fenders, some firewall pieces. Brian, you want to come over and just kind of point some stuff out? Let's start with the kind of most impressive piece of them all, the fuel tank.
Yeah, this is the fuel cell. It's an FIA certified fuel cell for the turbo. And this is required now for any kind of classic racing. It also just makes, it would be kind of silly for me to do the cage and not extend the safety to the fuel system. And then that'll also go to a fire suppression system and other things. But so this took a while to get. They make these once they get in order. So this took a bit of time to get, and we've got the padding that's going to go between it and the body, and we've got firewall that's going to go on top of that came in, and we also got a lot of the fuel system parts, the filler neck, some of the vents, and the fuel lines in there. And some of the body parts we got, so this is the inner wing. And if you look on this, you can kind of see where this is going to go. So it's going to replace the inner part in here. And that's going to provide more clearance for the front suspension. And that's the purpose for this. They'll be cutting out the sheet metal in there and replacing it with this fiberglass piece.
And so this was fiberglass stock. These are reproduction pieces, but on that car, these would have all been fiberglass.
Yep. Yeah. That's how they work.
And then on the fuel cell, that you actually have the stock one over there, which is plastic, and then kind of the race version, which is aluminum and welded. So this was a necessary requirement. You said it took a lot of time. I assume it took a lot of money.
It wasn't reasonable.
None of this. I think you knew on day one getting to this build it wasn't going to be reasonable. I saw these pieces on the side. Looks like they're carbon Kevlar. What do we have going on here?
Yeah, these are the skid plates. So these are, this will go on the front, just underneath the front radiator. And then that other piece is going to continue back from here. And this is a part that was on the Group B cars. And they used Kevlar back then.
So you can see a lot of lightweight pieces, fiberglass, Kevlar, and it just being a light car to begin with.
Yeah.
And that's another reason I mentioned in the last episode that we were doing so many of those reinforcement plates. So obviously we caged the car. We did a ton of the reinforcement plates because a lot of these lightweight materials, they are strong, especially something like this. But ultimately, you need to do anything you can to strengthen that car, both for the safety aspect, but also the handling characteristics. One of the things I wanted to talk about is the engine that we've got hanging out. So it's a little bit different than what came in that Turbo 2. This is the 8221 model. So the R5 that we have had this engine, and you said there's some differences between?
Yeah, this has a forged crank. So anybody that was going to try to convert their Turbo 2 into a rally car, up the horsepower, would either find one of these 8221s with the forged crank or have to source one aftermarket, and which can be difficult. These are limited production cars. So this has the forged internals in it, which allows for the build without having to source a new crank.
And we'll be getting into this engine. There's a lot that has to happen. All of this accessory drive stuff is going to have to go to the back. The engine's going to have to be rebuilt and refreshed. And then we've got a whole shelf of, there's engine parts. You can see the turbo, intercooler, and then a bunch of interior pieces and suspension things. So we'll be going through that individually. I just made it back to the shop after hanging over at Brian's place for a few hours, and that was a ton of fun. You could tell that he's a true enthusiast, and he's really passionate about every single one of the cars that you guys saw. And he has quite a collection. I mean, we could spend probably the next week out there filming and making YouTube videos on each individual car, and maybe we'll go back and choose a couple to highlight. I'd be curious in the comments which ones you'd want to see most out of all of those. Now, I did mention at the beginning of the episode that once we got back to the shop, we would see what they're up to on the R5 and some of the progress, but I think this episode's probably starting to get a little lengthy because we got so in-depth on conversation at his shop that I'm going to save some of the action stuff for the next one. Now, we have been building a series. This should be episode 6, 7 maybe, and if you guys aren't following along, I think you really should, because there's a lot of exciting stuff to come. All those parts we unboxed have to go on the car, all the fabrication that we still need to do, you guys are really going to enjoy. So please subscribe to the page if you haven't already, share it around with your friends, and we'll see you in the next video.